Ana is finally getting nerfed, Reaper might get a potential rework, and there's all sorts of balance changes and philosophies being shared by the developers on the future of the game. Hello everybody, my name is Abby. I am with you today for a, well, developer commentary review. I think that's the best way to say it. They had an AMA on Reddit, and we have some important notes from Alec Dawson as well as Josh Snow. So let's not waste any time and get straight into the meat of the burger. Right away, Josh Snow hits us with a banger and tells us that anti-healing is a useful mechanic for the overall health of the game, as it helps ensure that healing never gets too far out of control. So this is a little bit weird because like only one character has had a way to anti-heal people. I know Junker Queen has it on her ultimate, but it comes up so little in the actual game itself that I don't even consider it like a proper anti-effect that's consistent. Rather, Ana has been the only one that's ever had an anti-healing. So it's weird that they've given the support role the ability to control healing in the game, whether it's just pumping out a lot of healing but also denying the healing. Like Ana is kind of the one that enables both of that. Let's not kid ourselves. But anyways, moving on, he goes on to say the complaints around it feeling oppressive are understandable, as debuffs are never something players enjoy being affected by, and we'll be looking for ways to soften its impact while keeping Ana a viable hero. I believe that, the right way to do this will be to reduce healing. But what does Josh Snow say? Josh says the simplest solution here is just decreasing the duration of the effect, though there is certainly a point where it swings from feeling OP to not useful enough if the time is too low to really capitalize on. The reaction around it does also suggest that healing is probably too impactful overall, so we'll be looking over to address healing as well in the near future, as well as the way that it's handled systematically with heroes like Roadhogs, Take a Breather, etc, etc. Okay, this is the problem I have with the balance team. They understand what we don't like, but then they go about it in the worst way possible. It's okay to have the anti-effect with the duration that it's at. What's not right is if you reduce the duration that anti stays up, it loses its effectiveness because the time that it gets to stay up is the window for you to basically melt an enemy tank, right? Usually it's going to hit a tank, and that's the targets you kind of care about melting because they're the ones that get to either stay alive or get melted right away. The way I see it is that you just turn it into a healing reduction aid. Why do we just not try this concept? I'm getting really sick and tired of not trying this concept. If we can just have a 50% healing reduction, which is the opposite to her 50% healing increase if you hit your tank with it, it is worth trying and seeing how it feels, because you'll still have the power, but the other tank will still be able to breathe a little bit, and the debuff can stay up long enough for your tank to make a play, while also allowing the other tank the window to slow down a little bit, play smart, and survive. So this is my solution. I don't think reducing the time the anti is on someone is the solution. I think that's a band-aid fix, and it's not actually going to solve the problem. But that's just my take. What do you guys think? How can we fix anti-healing? I still think healing reduction is the best way to go about it. Now, the next thing that Josh Snow talks about is basically hero bans, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, now I'm not going to lie, I kind of want to talk about hero bans and counterpicking in other videos. So we're just going to kind of ignore that for a little bit. We're not going to talk about hero bans. I might talk about the counterpicking problem. Alec Dawson comes around and shares with us that a Wrecking Ball rework has started, kind of, and they're playtesting its first changes. So here's the comment by Alec Dawson. And he says, it's off to a good start. Overall, we're looking to make it a bit easier to play alongside Wrecking Ball with various support heroes. I don't understand what this means. How can you make it easier for quote-unquote supports to play with Wrecking Ball? Like, what is he going to do? Like pull people with him once he swings in? Like, what are we talking about here? Increase balls options in combat and implement some quality of life changes. So it does kind of look like they might be trying to give him, more abilities or something like that. Now, what I do find interesting, if I'm not mistaken, guys, correct me down below, because, I don't play Wrecking Ball that much. Wrecking Ball doesn't have an alternate fire, right? Like his right click, well, he technically does, because that's his grapple hook. But what I'm talking about is if we were able to mess around, we could give Wrecking Ball another button, right? Like we could find a way to give him a new ability. It's weird because I feel like Wrecking Ball has taken up everything. If I'm not mistaken, the shift is his ball form transformation. His E is his shields. His right click is the the pull. But I feel like what you could do to give him a new ability is if he's in his gun form, like he's in his like pilot mode, in that he loses his ability to hook onto things and instead gets another ability. So then, like, if you want your hook back, you swap back into ball form and then you can hook again. So ball form will be more like traversal based, and then your pilot form, or whatever you want to call it, hamster form, right, that will be a lot more like your aggressive defensive options to stay and play close to your team, changing up Ball's playstyle a little bit. So yeah, I remember that, how his hook works. So I don't know, I'm a bit worried about what they might do. Anyway, so in terms of timeline, they said that this could possibly end up in a bigger patch, and we might end up giving Wrecking Ball a new ability. Okay, so they pretty much just confirmed that he's going to get a new ability. I know they said that it could end up being that, but you know, this dev team, they like throwing in new abilities because they don't understand the problem with their games, and they keep trying these bandage fixes. So whatever, let's see the new bandage when it comes out. He says right now though, I think it'll lean closer to the first and not need the same sort of support that Roadhog and Sombra need. Hopefully we'll get something out there in the next few seasons. That means for a few seasons, Wrecking Ball is still going to be one of the worst tanks in the game. That's just depressing to read and hear. Honestly, it's just really, really sad. Anyways, moving on from over there, they spoke about the Reaper rework. So the Reaper reworks are very interesting. So he said Reaper is on that list. You know, we had our first brainstorm and aligned on our overall goals on what we want to see from Reaper's abilities. And one of those goals is kind of modernizing Reaper's kit. Shadow Step and Wraith Form standing out there. Okay, so here's kind of the thing, right? Shadow Step and Wraith Form are not where Reaper's problems are. It's just Reaper's outclassed by easier heroes that do his job better than him. If we drown those characters out, Reaper will be the go-to pick, or we could tighten Reaper's spread a little bit further, increase his damage number by 1 or 0.5, and see how it feels. I don't understand, like, we don't need a Reaper rework. We just need to give him a little bit more power again and just kind of go from there, you know? Like, it's one of those things where I feel like he doesn't need, like, an alternate fire. So, you know, they did go on to say that we are trying to explore some new abilities for Reaper on the right click, but don't want to take space just because it's available. If we add something there, we'll want to give him a little bit more decision-making in combat than he currently has. I mean, practically in one of the videos of the lore, Reaper was seen throwing grenades, so they might give him a little grenade ability or something to kind of help him set up his plays or whatever. But I don't think Reaper needs another ability. I'm completely fine with him being the shotgun guy, but we need to understand that for Reaper to thrive as the shotgun guy, which he was thriving in Season 1 and so, for that to be possible, we need Reaper to feel better. And, like, I don't understand, like, why don't they just revert the changes that they gave him, give him a little bit more power for like 2 weeks up until the, you know, like a mid-season patch or something like that, and then see how Reaper feels. And we can just avoid having to spend more dev time and resources into reworking the character, or, you know, just making a new ability where this time could have gone into doing something else. This is what I don't like about this current balance team. It just feels like they don't know anything about their heroes when they want to talk about them. Like, they understand the problems, but then their solutions are just completely lost, right? There's just like, yeah, you know, like, we know Reaper might have been meta in Season 1 and a little bit in Season 2, but yeah, I think we think he needs a new ability. We think he needs changes to Shadow Step and Teleport. That doesn't change anything. The character doesn't struggle in teleporting and flanking. Yeah, he goes on full volume loudspeaker, tells everybody that he's here, and it kind of hurts him more often than not. But that's not where the problem is. The problem is in the fact that his damage and his ability to actually apply pressure feels incredibly inconsistent. If we can make it feel a little bit more consistent, Reaper might actually be pretty good. You could do that in different ways. You can even do that in a way where the longer Reaper shoots, the faster his shots get. Like, every 2 shots, his fire rate increases. There's many ways that we can experiment. Again, experiment and see what feels good for Reaper, rather than just waste so much time in development and resource allocation, and just find ourselves like back in a situation where we're banging our head on the wall, right? Now, I will give them credit where it's due. Sombra rework and Roadhog rework were both successes. I feel like people slept on the Roadhog rework, and I'm going to talk about it tomorrow, because Hog is actually, unironically, really strong right now, and they weren't kidding when they said Hog is in the top 3. I'm seeing the vision. Hog is pretty strong right now, and with the new Mauga nerfs as well, Hog, my goodness, Hog is the #1 tank. Like, I'm really struggling to see a world right now where Hog isn't the #1 tank. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, actually this, oh, well, actually that. Yeah, but in a solo queue environment, in ranked and everything, Hog is just a menace right now. So Hog is definitely going to need some nerfs, I'm not going to lie. So this is kind of what I'm talking about. They are doing some good reworks, but sometimes the character doesn't need a rework. Like Sombra and Hawk's problems are much different compared to Reaper's. So for Reaper, my personal opinion, tighten the spread or increases damage by 1, let it be, see how things go, adjust accordingly until you find a good sweet spot, and then leave the guy alone, okay? Or you could also buff up his ultimate a little bit where, you know, the speed of the ult increases or something like that, or whatever the case might be, because his ultimate is the most cosmetic thing about him. Not even the skins that you have on him are that cosmetic. You might actually have a skin or two that gives you a little bit of competitive edge, but your ultimate, yeah, that thing's kind of cosmetic. It's so easily countered. I get sneezed on by a character and that ult just loses value. It's, you know, if you play Reaper in any elo that's above plat, you will know what I'm talking about. And yeah, that thing is just a cosmetic. You just go in, press Q, somebody stuns you, CCs you, deletes you, and you just immediately wraith away and you run for your life. So that's a sad state of Reaper. Okay, so what else do we have for my little screenshot list? So, you know, it kind of came down to also talking about, this is Josh Snow, who said that an important aspect of our hero design philosophy is that, you know, in hero gameplay, we should have strengths and weaknesses to create varied and interesting gameplay. This is basically them saying that we want Counterwatch to be a thing. Haha, that's amazing. It's a horrible thing, but, you know, whatever. When we look to buff a hero, for example, we want to keep in mind, and we typically try to focus on their strength rather than their weakness. Okay, with all due respect, Mr. Josh Snow, I genuinely believe that you guys don't know what a hero's strength is and what a hero's weakness is. And that is why you create a lot of these patches where the community gets extremely frustrated because you fail to understand, like, what people like playing into another hero and what people don't like playing into another hero. And that's what creates these extremely stale and boring metas. Because it's like, while yes, in some case, let's say giving Orisa more Fortify is her strength, so that will help Orisa. While that is fundamentally true, it doesn't change the fact that the hero is boring to play. You didn't solve that problem. You just created a new problem where now there's 5 people in the lobby, like on the other team. They're just shooting an immovable, a movable wall that just refuses to fall. So over there, that's my personal commentary towards Josh Snow and this statement. It's like, you need to think outside of this bubble. You need to really think about how a hero feels and not just their statistics and the numbers they would put up. So they said we do want to avoid counters being too easy and effective. They say this in the same season that they overbuffed characters like Torbjorn and Kiriko. Let's just kind of keep that in the back of our mind, right? They say this in the same seasons that they did garbage like this. They also go on to say, Josh goes on to say, there's a broad goal of making sure every hero choice is viable in some capacity, feels good to play. Hopefully not feeling too unfair to play against. Bastion's still broken, by the way. Anyways, and Roadhog. Not to forget Roadhog. Some direct matchups are not reasonably close, like Winston versus Roadhog, but we don't strictly balance off 1v1 matchups, as Overwatch is a team game. Winston is a good chance to win by going after everyone that is not Roadhog. Yeah, this is true. Like, this is true, but can we also, like, saying something like Winston has a good chance to win that team fight by going after everybody else that isn't Roadhog? Like, are we not considering that everybody else might also be a Winston counter? Are we not considering that perhaps the Roadhog can hook the Winston in or walk up to where the Winston goes? If the team plays close to the Roadhog, the Winston is kind of forced to playing into the Roadhog. Like, can we consider these things? Like, do they think people play Overwatch like a big spread out? Actually, you know what? Yeah, they kind of do. I'm going to take that back. At least in gold and below, people play like that. I'm just going to take that back. But okay, jokes aside, this is a really narrow-minded view, and they have the mindset in the right place, but it's just they're not thinking deeper than that. And that's, again, where the problem in balance comes in, because they don't understand, like, what to do with these heroes and how these matchups play out. Like him saying something like Winston has a good chance to win for everybody that is not Roadhog. It's like, okay, well, what if the Winston dives on a Brigand Torbjorn? What the flip is the Winston going to do over there? You know? Okay, is the Winston still winning? Mr. Josh, no? Do you want to pick Winston into that type of combat? Tell me how it goes. Or if they're playing close or within the vicinity of the Roadhog just walks into, you know, that area and deletes the Winston or hooks the Winston, perhaps? You know, like, can we please try to not push false narratives that, no, actually, you still can play Winston against a Roadhog. He has a good chance to win. No, the chance to win is very slim. It isn't fair. That Winston player knows that all it takes is one hook and I'm basically dead. And he's forced to play extremely careful. And he's already thinking about counterpicking and going Sig or going like any other character, Roadhog or Mauga. Well, Mauga's kind of weak now, but it doesn't matter. Like, you guys see where I'm coming from, right? Like, the problems with their philosophy. He said, generally found that when the heroes are balanced closely enough, the individual player performance and teamwork has more impact on a match than a hero choice does until you reach the highest levels of competition. This is something that I will fundamentally agree with. that yes, this is true, is that when they find good balances for the characters, it does come down to individual as well as teamwork based performance to get max value. I will agree here. Okay, so this they understand, but to be honest, like they can understand this by just playing the game as well, that yeah, you know, these characters are fine. If we work together, they'll be even better. That is true, but we do have to consider what is going on outside of this bubble too. They do understand this with the highest levels of competition, but as far as we've seen in the past 2 years, they never actually balance around it. Anyways, everybody, that is it for this video. Let me know what do you guys think about the Reaper rework, about the Anand nerf, and most importantly, what are your thoughts still on Counterwatch? With that being said, if you want to support the channel for free, you can do so by clicking like and subscribe. It helps me out with the algorithm, and it means the world to me if you do that. And then most importantly, if you want to support me for like financial reasons, with finance, you know, I'm so tired, man. You can use the super chat below, and that's where you donate to me directly. So if you want to do that and help me grab a really cool cup of coffee in my midterms week, I would appreciate it. Anyways, with that said, see you guys in the next one.